It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, Brian, this next question is from Esther. And this is a hard one, right? Esther said...
That's not the way to start a question.
Well, it's hard, but you'll see. You'll get there. I'm glad you got to answer it, not me. Me and my husband are looking to buy our first house. We can afford the price at last year's interest rates, but not with the current ones.
Yeah.
What do? Do we just wait until interest rates come back down and hope we can still afford a house at that time? Now, Esther didn't ask this, but I'm asking, do we wait for interest rates to come back down? Do we wait for housing prices to come back down? Do we make a horribly aggressive and incredibly dangerous, risky decision and just try to get on the train? It's hard right now. Like for folks who are trying to get in their first home in most markets in this country, it's really, really interesting. Prices are going up. Now interest rates are rising. And even with, a lot of the guidance we give, Brian, is we talk about how, you hear people say all the time, you got to put 20% down, 20% down, 20% down. Our belief is that for a first-time home purchase, you can back off that a little bit. It's okay if you only put 3% down or 5% down so that you can go ahead and get in that house. But a lot of young folks saying, even with 3 to 5%, I still can't do it just yet, right? So what do I do? Is this the new norm? I've heard people ask this question. Am I never going to own a home, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to go down that dark path because I don't like that. You and I have, with our content team, all of our planners, we have those discussions constantly.
Yep.
I don't love what's been created in the system currently where it is hard for people to get on the home equity train of owning their own house. But I want to talk about a few of these things you threw out there. Interest rates. First of all, do we just wait for interest rates to go down? Are we sure they're coming back down? And when? Now, look, that is a common tool that the Federal Reserve will use when they have slow economic growth. We know interest rates come down. But there's a counterpoint right now. This is why this is such a unique time in history is that, yes, when we have slow economic growth, we know first quarter was negative growth.
Yep.
So that's half the recipe of recession because you have 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. You get recession. But we also know, hey, since last year, we've been struggling through high inflation. Well, how do you address high inflation? You raise interest rates. So if that's the case, wait a minute, that's conflicting. Let's go back historically. Are mortgage rates, crazy high right now? They crazy low? I think you'll see if you look history-wise, we're in a super low interest rate environment. So I'm not so sure I can promise, Esther, that rates are coming down anytime soon. I don't know. Full disclosure.
No idea. No
but we're
crystal
much
ball.
closer to the bottom than we are to where rates have been in history.
Yep.
So I would not count that interest rates are necessarily coming down. So that now puts the decision point back to how much house can I afford? How much payment is this going to allow me? Use that as the decision matrix. So I'm figuring out, use the flexibility that Bo talked about, 3 to 5%. So now you're trying to figure out, well, do I buy? And this is the part where, because we had Clark Howard on a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And Clark was saying, I was kind of shocked because I understood on cars. He was like, hey, just wait. It's all going to go back to normal at some point. Housing, he even said, hey, maybe you should wait to see how this all levels off. So, but I want to take it a step further. I don't think that's bad advice, but I do think it is. It all depends. I think it really depends upon where you live. Like we live here in the Nashville area, all the suburbs of Nashville in general. There are so many people moving to this area that it's all about supply and demand. There's just no inventory. It doesn't matter if you're just selling 6 2x4s leaned against the side of a tree.
You get above asking for it.
They'll get above asking for it just because there's so many people moving here. That's concerning. So I wouldn't be counting on a big drop in any type of place that you're moving to where the demand is much greater than the supply. Now, I will tell you, there's other parts of the country where, like I saw a stat, I believe, for Florida, where it was talking about the number of people buying houses in Florida that it's now secondary homes. That's always a key indicator for me is like, woo.
Things are getting hot.
Oh, man. If the majority of the homes being purchased in your community are all secondary homes, that's a little danger zone for me because you know what happens when things get really ugly in an economic marketplace? The people drop those secondary. Here's the order, by the way. If you don't know on how these things all flow through on a downturn, I'll go ahead and give you a little cheat sheet right now. Pay attention to what's going on in boat prices. Because you don't get to the fun little adage that the 2 best days that you own a boat are the days you buy and the day you sell it historically, unless these things just have a lot of, people are turning these things over left and right. So pay attention to boat prices because right now somehow they're appreciating. Then I want you to pay attention to RV prices, and then we'll get to the real estate prices from there. So, but these are some of the canaries in the coal mine that you could be paying attention to. But I think that the location matters so much in this decision because if you live in a community like Nashville, you're not promised that the market's even dropping in price. I was talking to some neighbors. I was at an event and a lot of them have relocated from California, from Chicago. And they're like, yeah, I was kind of shocked at the prices. And the real estate agent gave me advice, said, hey, it's not a good price, but for what's going on right now, it's a fair price. So I think you ought to jump. And then they were lamenting because they'd now been here for over a year. They're like, who would have thought we'd have made 25% from this price that we were just sure we were getting ripped off on? That's how weird the dynamics are in the real estate marketplace right now. So use that flexibility that Bo was talking about, especially on your first house of 3 to 5%. Pay attention to the interest rates. That is also, if rates start going up, don't just think it's only 15 and 30-year rates. You can start looking at the variable rates, especially if it's something you think, like if you look at a 7-year rate and you know you're moving in 5 years or something like that, you can start paying attention to those decision tools as well.